It is New Year's Eve, and I think of this year, I think of this day as the Bits and Bobs Day. Everyone knows that the week between Christmas and New Year's is basically just a no man's land of nothing. But I think of New Year's Eve as the most no man's land out of all of the days because it is so close to New Year's Eve, but it isn't very close to Christmas Day at all. As someone who doesn't celebrate Christmas, none of this means anything to me personally, but the rest of the world stops doing stuff this week. And I think of this day as the best day to just do bits and bobs. And what I mean by that is the tiny little tasks that no one has any time for throughout the year, and all of the things that you kind of are important, or maybe not even important, but just are maybe tasks. I think this is a fantastic day to get loads of sleep, maybe do some random bits and bobs tasks, and just have a good time. I think this is the most free day of the year, and I think there's something really special about New Year's Eve. For me, I feel super behind this year. And the reason is there was a specific day where the trains were cancelled and I was in the wrong place. I had planned to have a whole day where I really just focused on getting a bunch of stuff done so that I could start the new year super clean and with not a bunch of looming tasks hanging over me. However, because of a bunch of things, but primarily the fact that the trains were cancelled, I ended up not being in my home for the whole day. And so I have 1,000 different bits and bobs that I still have to do. And today was my bits and bobs day. And I did a bunch of random things. However, I actually did not get as much done as I wanted to. So, not only do I have nothing valuable to add to the world today in terms of thoughts and ideas, but I also just feel a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I really want to get done before the end of the year. It's kind of weird that this whole end of the year thing comes about it's so arbitrary, but ultimately, I actually think it's really good for us to have these feelings of fresh beginnings and closing of chapters, even if it comes from a super arbitrary place like the end of a calendar year. But because I think that seasonality is important, and I think that seasonality gives us space to have breaks and not to feel like the entirety of our life is one whole continuum with no punctuation marks in between. And I think that New Year's is a great time to have those punctuation marks in our lives. So, that's all I have to say today. I'm still really conflicted on my yearly themes. I still don't know which yearly theme I'm going to go with. I'm slightly leaning towards turning pro. I think that there is something to be said about that yearly theme being something that was a runner-up last year, and now it potentially could be a runner-up again this year. And I think I will just continually have this itch if I don't try and commit to one yearly theme. But I'm getting closer and closer to the idea of low-key doing 2 yearly themes. Maybe I do Turning Pro as the overarching theme for the year, but I start January with Being of Service as a sub-theme. Or I might not. I might actually keep the Being of Service thing as something I do as a sub-theme for a season, maybe in the spring. I don't really know. But those are all my thoughts for today. Kind of a bits and bobs video, which is thematic for the day. But yeah,